Welcome to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. And now your host, Tim Johnson.
We'll talk business climate, economic development, and infrastructure when Adam Knapp, President and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, joins us on this edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Consumers and property owners with construction projects can have a successful result or regretful experiences that could have been avoided. Before any construction project, verify licensure of the contractor and check references. Scammers will claim to be insured or bonded, so always check first. Download our app, LA Contractor, from the Android or Apple Store. Visit our website, lacontractor.org, or contact the Louisiana State Licensing Board for Contractors. We're here to help before things go wrong. Hire a licensed contractor. It's the law.
Spadel's Florist was founded over 30 years ago. From my mom's kitchen, we have grown into one of the largest florists in this area. There's a sense in our community that you stick together. Good times or bad. And oil and gas is part of that family. They're my neighbors. They're my customers. They're the person I'm sitting next to at church. If oil and gas is doing well, all of our businesses are doing well. We are Louisiana Oil and Gas.
This is the Louisiana Community and Technical College System Foundation in action, providing scholarships, advocacy, and professional development to support LCTCS colleges that supply businesses with competent, skilled people, from chefs to welders to diesel mechanics, nurses, process technicians, IT professionals, graphic designers, and more. Visit this website and support your LCTCS Foundation for better business, stronger communities, and a higher Louisiana for all.
Passion, experience, safety. These are what set Arkell Constructors apart as a premier general contractor. At Arkell Constructors, our goal is to exceed our clients' expectations, whether it's commercial, industrial, or facility maintenance. We have the team and processes in place to provide a solution for you. To us, every project is a resume for our future. Arkell Constructors, the solution for your next building project.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Very pleased to be joined once again by Adam Knapp. He's President and CEO of the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, BRAC. My friend, welcome back.
Good to see you again.
Fourth time on the television show.
It's great to be back.
You've set the record on our radio show, I think 7 or 8 times. So we're always
feeling let down that I didn't hold it on the TV show.
Well,
yet.
we're working in that direction.
Coming.
So don't count your chickens yet. I think most of our Baton Rouge market viewers would understand clearly what BRAC is and what it's about. Sure. But for those in the rest of the state, give us an overview of BRAC as a regional development organization.
In every part of Louisiana, there is something like what we are. We're a regional economic development organization. We work with all of the parishes in our region on economic development projects, on policy, on issues related to the business climate and the quality of life in our communities. And in every metro region in Louisiana, I have a counterpart, and their teams are some of the best in the state at thinking strategically about the future of the state's economy.
It's a wonderful organization in terms of the way you do economic development statewide. You think about folks like Scott Martinez in Shreveport, the North Louisiana Partnership, Jim Clinton in Alexandria. You think about Troy Wayman and Greg Gautreaux in Lafayette, and George Swift in Lake Charles, and Mike Heck in New Orleans, and you guys here really working together to promote economic development. For a long time in our state, we were very siloed. Mm-hmm. And these regions really competed against one another in a pretty aggressive way. There's much more of a sense of cooperation and working together today. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, I think it's important to realize that there's a lot more in common between our regions than there is that separates us. And that's what has led us to a realization that we have to work together on initiatives in order to move the economic development agenda of Louisiana forward and for our own communities. What we also saw was that operating in silos wasn't a very effective way to get stuff done that matters to our regional organizations, that we work better in teams to be able to bring projects forward, initiatives forward, working with the state economic development agency, or even working with our local communities. We learn a lot from each other, from the practices that our friends around the state are doing. The other interesting thing I think about our organizations is oftentimes we think of Louisiana as this big, hard to swallow state. It's just many different issues related to the state and complexities. At a regional level, though, you see that you have a lot more tight-knit issues, and so our organization as a multi-parish organization is able to cross parish boundaries, just like all our counterparts are, to find those things that we commonly need to work on to move our regional economies forward. And if we can do that for each other, we use our resources better. We know no one ever has enough money to do this work. As a nonprofit, we're all nonprofit organizations. Almost all. And so the challenge we have is to be able to be smart about our work and to pick and prioritize those things that matter the most. And that's why it works a lot more efficiently for us to partner as parishes together on shared initiatives related to economic development.
And it has worked well both statewide and in the local regions. One of the things that I know you're very proud of, and this whole region should be very proud of, is the new BRAC headquarters.
Yes.
It really is a state-of-the-art facility focused on growing the economy in this region. Talk about the vision for the new center, Adam, and tell us about it.
Well, it had been for decades our building at the corner of 6th and Laurel in downtown Baton Rouge. It was built in the 1950s, and it looked like it when you walked into it in 2018. And so that was the challenge we faced, was a need to have that building look and feel like a modern, contemporary space where you feel proud to bring companies together to talk about the future of their community and to host new companies that might consider locating here. And I'm going to tell you, for the 10 years I was at this organization before we renovated this building, we actively tried to avoid bringing companies to our building. One, we didn't have the space for it, and two, we didn't want it to look like that was what we wanted them to think about us. And so we're so excited. It's now a very bright and open space. We changed it from the Chamber of Commerce building to the Center for Economic Development. It's named after a very generous man in Baton Rouge, a successful entrepreneur named David E. Roberts, owner of Excel Group, and we couldn't be prouder to have his name on our building to demonstrate that the business community here is proud of what it means to be supportive of the business and economic development needs of our community.
I think it's safe to say now that a world-class economic development organization, which BRAC has been recognized as, is now housed in a world-class economic development facility. And those folks who might be watching this show who are in this region or might be traveling into Baton Rouge from other parts of the state should stop by and visit. I know you would enjoy that.
We would. In fact, we host businesses all the time for their visits through town. They can call us in advance if they want to have a space to come back by and just sit for a minute and catch up before they head off to meetings. We also rent it out to groups that want to use it, or loan it out to groups that want to use it. We've got a big 100-person conference center where they can come and have meetings. And we've got an entrepreneur hub that we're going to actually be standing up this year, some co-working space for companies to actually be able to use some of our space if they need it.
Well, to Dave Roberts and all the folks who donated to that, to you and your team, congratulations on what is an outstanding headquarters for BRAC. We got about a minute and a half left in this segment, so we may carry some of this over. But one of the real issues that you guys are focused on in Baton Rouge and in BRAC and in this region is what we call quality of place. And it really is, for lack of a better way to describe it, just sort of cleaning up our area, making the aesthetics better. You've got an important bill that might be coming up in the legislature coming up this week on blighted property. Representative Paula Davis, give us a brief overview of what that's about.
In a nutshell, every part of Louisiana has blighted properties that are facing a tax sale. It has been, unfortunately, too complex in Louisiana to deal with tax sales. It's a burden in East Baton Rouge Parish, but it's a burden in parishes across the state, rural and urban, for how those properties get sold. The U.S. Supreme Court has cleaned it up. Louisiana has not followed suit to make it more clear as a process how it's supposed to work. And so this legislation gets us in line with other states for how to sell a tax sale property as a community, which we think is necessary because we need to be able to get good title insurance if we're investing in properties to put them back into commerce, and that's what this solves.
And what we know is the statistics and the data show us that blighted properties, the quality of place, how a region looks, the litter, the grass, those sort of things do have a significant impact on economic development. So folks who might be interested in that should call their legislators in support of Representative Davis's bill.
Please, it's on our Senate Revenue and Fiscal Affairs Committee on Monday. It's House Bill 466. It's an important piece of legislation for Louisiana.
We'll watch it closely. Let's take a break. We got a lot more to talk about. We're visiting with Adam Knapp. He's President and CEO of BRAC. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
Since 1919, we've designed and constructed hundreds of industrial plants, roads, ships, dams, and executed some of the most complex jobs in the world. In fact, our quality and dependability are legendary. Today, the legend continues as Brown & Root delivers engineering, construction, maintenance, and industrial specialty services throughout the U.S. and the world from our headquarters here in Louisiana. We are Brown & Root.
ExxonMobil Baton Rouge keeps the local economy rolling. Our new aviation project created hundreds of jobs, drove millions of dollars to local businesses, and poured thousands more into our community to improve schools. 1 in 8 jobs in our parish can be traced back to ExxonMobil. Tomorrow's Baton Rouge is built by what we do today. A little energy goes a long way. ExxonMobil Baton Rouge. Energy lives here.
The 1012 Industry Report is excited to announce the 1012 Industry Weekly. This e-newsletter is free and comes to your inbox every Tuesday. All you have to do is sign up at 1012industryreport.com. 1012 Industry Report is an award-winning magazine serving South Louisiana's petrochemical and oil and gas industries. From Lake Charles to Baton Rouge and New Orleans, we cover the news, people, projects, and issues that matter to industry. The 1012 Industry Report magazine and weekly email. Sign up today.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Adam Knapp, President and CEO of BRAC, the Baton Rouge Area Chamber, is my guest. We left off the last segment talking a little bit about some of the things that are going on in the legislature, particularly your piece of legislation on cleaning up blighted property. The thing that you guys have led the charge on in a great way over the last 4 or 5 years is infrastructure and investment in transportation in the greater Baton Rouge region. There is no other place in the state, certainly, very few places in the country where traffic congestion has as big an impact on the economy as it does here. Give us an overview, Adam, of what the situation is, and then let's talk about some of the solutions that have been proposed and some of the frustrations we have over the lack of progress.
Well, look, anybody who's an LSU fan and has driven through Baton Rouge in the last decade or two has experienced some of the worst traffic in Louisiana. Right here in Baton Rouge, and unfortunately, it's now to a place where it's damaging our economy. And if we surveyed businesses today and asked them in Baton Rouge, what's your number one thing that's causing you harm and giving you concern as a business, across industry type in Baton Rouge, across business size, wherever they are in the region, transportation is the number one issue. Among all the other myriad of issues that are problems and concerns for businesses, it's their challenge that they're dealt with. But it is not our problem alone. Across the state of Louisiana, there are deficient roads and bridges. There are needs for new expansion of capacity. There are other infrastructure challenges besides our roads also that we have just let, unfortunately, slide into decline. And our state is not dealing with this problem aggressively enough. And it's a shame that we let that as citizens of Louisiana happen.
I wrote a piece for 1012 Industry Report a couple of weeks ago, and here's what I said. No matter what side of the political spectrum you're on, whether you support new taxes or you are one of the folks that will never support new taxes, one thing is clear. We have not and are not investing enough in our infrastructure to keep up. Right. And the more we fall behind, the more expensive it is going to be to catch up. Now, whether that's a new tax or that's restructuring of the budget, so more of an investment of the current dollars can go into infrastructure, we can have that debate, and I think it's a legitimate one. What is not a legitimate debate is that we have for years now invested at an insufficient level to maintain the infrastructure that we have and build the new capacity that we need. Representative Steve Carter this session had another bill to gradually raise our gas tax so that we can invest more. It appears that bill now is dead for this session, which means that absent a special session, we've got to wait 2 years now before we can come back and approach this again. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, we have championed across the state since 2016 the need for the state of Louisiana to deal with this problem And our board of directors has said enough is enough. We're for a little bit more in a gas tax if it means that we can get infrastructure in Louisiana moving forward. There was a committee, everybody loves to see committees write reports. There was a committee of the legislature that did this in 2016 and 2017, said the state of Louisiana needs $700 million more just to keep up with what is our crumbling infrastructure.
And that is to say nothing of the 13 or 14 billion we need for additional capacity.
The state has a $14 billion maintenance backlog, maintenance backlog. And if you just built the state master plan projects that are called the A and B priorities, and they go through E or G or something. But if you just built A and B, that's another $7 billion. So you're already looking at $21 billion of needs. And the state has got to deal with this. I have in my driveway a 1965 Chevy C10, and I park my wife's brand new minivan next to it sometimes just to have the picture for Instagram of what our infrastructure looks like compared to what it actually is. And it's just too complicated for folks to realize that we're just letting it be that rotting, rusty old 65 Chevy C10 truck, and we need to be competing, and we're not keeping up, and then we've got to take action.
And it is significant in the greater Baton Rouge area, but as you mentioned, it is a problem all over our state. In fact, I saw some relatives of mine who live in central Louisiana post a video on social media just this week about the poor condition of Highway 167 going from central Louisiana, the Evangeline Parish area, up to Alexandria. Literally places where it would be better off if you just graded it up and turned it into a gravel road. And that is only a slight exaggeration. We have got to invest more. We've got to do it. Not only is it impacting economic development, and you see that every day, it's impacting the quality of our lives. We sit in traffic in an inordinate way compared to the rest of the country.
Well, if you think about this from the perspective also of business and industry, it's a safety issue. We think about and talk about safety in our businesses and our industry sites all the time. And yet we don't think about our roads from the perspective of, are we actually creating a safe environment for our families to traverse? Not just the time it takes, but the safety factor. If you're back in my hometown of Lake Charles and crossing the I-10 bridge, you're taking your life in your own hands every time you ride that.
It is a structurally deficient major artery.
It's unbelievable to think that America and the state of Louisiana and Lake Charles and Louisiana let things like that happen, whether it's Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lake Charles, wherever it happens to be.
Interestingly enough, President Trump was in Southwest Louisiana at an energy industry event a couple of weeks ago, and he made the pledge that, look, if I get reelected, we're going to build a new bridge in Lake Charles. It was the largest applause line that he got in the entire speech. That gives you an idea of how bad things are. 30 seconds left. Where do we go from here?
Well, most important is what you said a moment ago. The legislature failed to act this session. They failed to act in 2017. The reality is they will do this rarely in a year that they're all on the ballot. The best chance is to do it in the first year right after they come off of the ballot, which is the year after an election. And so we will join with others in seeking a special session in the first term of whoever is governor to deal with infrastructure. And they come with whatever solution it is, but whatever the solution they bring needs to be able to generate somewhere between $500 and $700 million of more money toward transportation needs.
We have got to invest more. We've got to keep up. It is impacting us in significant ways. Let's take a break. We come back. I want to talk about economic development. I want to talk about job creation because you've got some things you can brag on. We're visiting with Adam Knapp. He's the president and CEO of BRAC. You're watching the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.
I just see the positive things on the horizon, and BRAC is a real integral part of that.
BRAC's taken a very forward role in trying to help align people and align strategies and align solutions.
You'll find that you'll have an opportunity at BRAC to make a difference.
It's about being a part of conversations and really having a voice in terms of how we move the city forward.
My friends were in college and stuff, which is great. It wasn't the route for me, and financially, I know it's tough on a lot of people, so I saw welding. At first, my instinct was like, what pays the most money? So I was like, welding, that's the way to go. It made a great living for me and my family. You can always work your way up. There's multiple ladders, and really the sky's the limit. I thought I got to the max with as high as I can go with welding. As high as you want to grow, you can absolutely achieve it.
promoting workplace safety and family wellness. That's our motto at Gulf Coast Occupational Medicine. The Gulf Coast staff is made up of some of the most knowledgeable and hardest working medical professionals in Louisiana. We care about your safety and your bottom line. With 8 convenient locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, our services include injury management, physical exams, medical surveillance, and substance abuse testing. For more information, visit us on the web at gcombr.info and ride the wave to safety.
Welcome back to the Louisiana Business and Industry Show. Adam Knapp of BRAC is our guest. Let's talk about economic development, job creation. Yeah. You guys have a lot to brag on over the last couple of years. You've done some really good work. It's, as you mentioned earlier, it's a real team effort in this region and statewide. But talk about some of the recent wins and some of the things that might be in the pipeline.
Well, you know, we operate in 5-year cycles, and our current cycle that we're in started in 2016. We work with a group of investors to fund the work that we do on that 5-year cycle, lay out a whole plan, and that'll run through 2020. So from the start of that work in 2016, we're at about 2,700 jobs announced through projects where our team has been directly involved in different ways, and they span different types of industry, from heavy manufacturing to technology to logistics firms. So a few interesting ones this year that I think are characteristic examples of what's happening in the economy in 2019. First, we had an expansion project at a pipe manufacturing facility called Stupp Corporation. It's been here for many generations. It's gone through ups and downs, and so we were excited to see that this family-owned company has made a decision to expand their facility here, adding a little over 200 jobs to their facility. We think it could be even more than that. And the good news is when they're doing well, it means the energy industry in America is doing well. And it's a good sign that they're on an upswing, because that means that other aspects of what's going on in the American energy industry is doing well. We also had a great project with ExxonMobil, something that we've been working on for a number of years, to have their company see to make a major modernization investment and expansion here in their Baton Rouge facilities. You know, they have 4 different plant sites in the Baton Rouge region, and the company has made a Grow the Gulf commitment to spend $50 billion along the Gulf Coast. We were excited to see a piece of that break off toward the capital region here. And so that was another $600+ million investment, 60 permanent jobs. And then we've had a number of mid-size expansion projects or new locations. We had a logistics firm, Cons, that many have maybe heard of. They will be distributing from a new West Baton Rouge site to a multi-state area from a site in Port Allen. So just some examples of different types of projects. This is one that our staff have been working on, this particular site consultant that brought us that project. You know, for over a decade, we've been having conversations about when there'd be a good project for us to work on with them. So we were excited that one came over the finish line.
One of the things I know, and you mentioned this in your answer, but one of the things I know you're very excited about is the diversity of a lot of these announcements, right? We've seen some really good announcements in our core industries, heavy industry, but you've seen some diversification. You've also seen some recognition for this area. Baton Rouge is becoming recognized as a really good place to do business. Talk about that a little bit.
So a few things that are interesting. One, to your point about diversification, we've had some recognition that this is one of the most diverse economies in the country, and yet we still worry about generally how much we are reliant on one industry, and we want to continue to grow our manufacturing sector, but we also want to have other high growth sectors. We see opportunities in healthcare. We see opportunities in coastal science to continue to be the world's leader in developing applications and solutions for what's happening along our coastlines all over the world. And so there's some amazing developments that are happening in Baton Rouge today. And then around software, we've seen in Baton Rouge and frankly across Louisiana, the development of the technology industry as an incredible change that's really just jumped forward in the last 5 or 6 years. And so we've been continuing to see homegrown companies as well as large multinational firms finding a home in the Baton Rouge area. And so that's been something that's been important to us. What's great about it is that we're also seeing at the same time that we compete as communities based on how great it is as a place to live. And if you've been through downtown Baton Rouge recently, it's a changed place. We had somebody who was visiting recently who hadn't been back here in about 20 years, and went to downtown and just couldn't believe how dramatically it's changed. It's a walkable, livable, residential units, and it's just the beginning. I think I keep telling people we're in the middle of this, or very at the beginning of it still, and it's a transformation that's critical for every community.
I came here 30 plus years ago to get my degree at LSU, and you went downtown at that point. You could roll up the sidewalks at 5 o'clock, but Davis Rohr and the Downtown Development District and the folks that have invested in that space have really transformed it. I think I know what your answer is going to be, but let's talk about the greatest challenge. Well, there you go. Talk about the greatest challenge that you face in marketing this region.
I would say there's three that we deal with. One is people don't know where Baton Rouge is nationally. We have a challenge of image and awareness that is, it's great to know that New Orleans is well known anywhere you go in the world, but we need to have that happen for Baton Rouge. We're one of the largest metro areas in the country. And don't get recognition for the size that we are. We're as one of the top 100 metros by population size. It's the kind of place that should be a magnet for talent, and people should be aware of that. And so we spend a lot of time just making sure that we're getting our name and our brand out nationally about the things that we're specialized in and unique in, and like I said a moment ago, how great a place it is to live. And the second challenge, I think, is just making sure that here in Louisiana and in this region, we know that this is a great place to do business. It's got a great business climate in Louisiana. It's a very investable climate, but there's still a lot of perception issues that we deal with that we always have to overcome. And then third is just our continued need to focus on transportation solutions, which you talked about already. That, you know, if you peel back the challenges that we face, that logistics challenge is a major challenge we have to always be focused on.
About 45 seconds left. What else is on the horizon for BRAC?
Yeah, some exciting things that we're working on related to entrepreneurship and innovation that I think is exciting to talk about. We've seen across Louisiana a lot of new energy around entrepreneurship, and I think one of the things that drives dynamism in an economy is knowing that the community is focused on entrepreneurship, and it's been exciting to see that coming out of the universities in Baton Rouge, coming out of our industry base and our engineering talent in Baton Rouge, some really great startups. And so we've seen now recently a lot of energy around our incubators and our technology community finding ways to accelerate those startups as investors, as talent who want to work within those companies. And there's a recent study we helped facilitate that between a lot of the different assets of our community about how to take that to the next level. And so we're very hopeful to see that really kicked off and moving forward in the coming months.
We're going to watch it closely, buddy. It's always a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks for the time.
We'll have you back soon. That's a wrap, guys. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next week at this very same time for another edition of the Louisiana Business and Industry Show.